Over North Vietnam, the sky was never quiet. Every cloud hid danger. Every mission could be your last. It's 1966, the middle of Operation Rolling Thunder. Navy pilots flying the F-8 Crusader, the last of the gunfighters, ruled the skies with cannons and courage. But they had one big problem. They couldn't find the enemy. Then came Commander Richard Dick Bellinger, a veteran of World War II, Korea, and now Vietnam. He was about to turn frustration into one of the most incredible comebacks in naval aviation history. This is the story of how one man and one fighter jet went from catastrophe to victory over the jungles of Vietnam. Operation Rolling Thunder, North Vietnam, 1966. The air smells like jet fuel and gunpowder, the sky thick with smoke trails from bomb runs that never seem to end. The F-8 Crusader, called the last of the gunfighters, flies escort for Navy of 4 Skyhawks on their bombing missions. But there's a problem. The enemy doesn't want to fight them. North Vietnamese MiG pilots prefer going straight for the bombers. And when the Crusaders show up, the MiGs vanish into the clouds. For men like Commander Richard Dick Bellinger, it's infuriating. He'd been through World War II, flown over Korea, and now he was in his 3rd war, with nothing to show for it. No dogfights, no kills, just endless sky and frustration. But Bellinger wasn't the kind of pilot who waited for luck. He started watching, learning, noticed how MiGs always came from behind the strike packages, waiting for the bombers to turn home. So he came up with an idea. Fly close to the Skyhawks. Blend in. Make the enemy think the Crusaders were just more easy targets. It was risky, but it might finally draw the MiGs out of hiding. And Bellinger was done waiting. July 14th, 1966. Over the skies of Nam Dinh, 3 F-8 Crusaders slice through the clouds, protecting a group of A-4 Skyhawks hitting a fuel depot below. Commander Dick Bellinger leads the flight. His wingmen, Lieutenant Richard Wyman and Chuck Tinker. The weather's awful. Thick clouds, turbulence, lightning flashing inside the haze. Then a warning comes through the radio. Red Crown to Crusader flight. MiGs inbound low altitude. 2 MiG 17 seconds, flown by Le Quang Trung and No Duc Mai, are coming straight for them. Bellinger pushes the throttle all the way forward. Afterburners on. Let's find them. The Crusaders drop through the clouds like bullets, vapor streaming off the wings. Suddenly, a flash of silver, a MiG flies right across the nose. Brake left, Bellinger yells, jerking the stick hard. Wyman rolls out behind the MiG and lines up for a shot, but Tinker overshoots, his radio cable snapping loose. He's completely cut off from the fight. Out of nowhere, another MiG screams in from behind, firing. Tracers zip past like orange sparks. "MiG, 6 o'clock!" Wyman calls out. Bellinger yanks the Crusader into a hard bank, the G's crushing his chest as they dive back into the clouds. For a few seconds, everything goes white. No horizon, no sense of up or down. Just the sound of engines and gunfire echoing through the fog. The fight turns into pure instinct, 5 planes twisting, climbing, diving, blind. Then suddenly, they all break out of the clouds, low over the sea. The fight becomes a deadly carousel, what pilots call a Loughborough circle. Everyone chasing everyone, no one breaking away. Bellinger spots a MiG slicing past his canopy less than 50 yards away. He squeezes the trigger. Nothing. The Crusader's cannons jammed under high Gs. The MiG rolls underneath him and fires. Impact! The tail rips open. Hydraulic fluid sprays across the cockpit. "You're hit! You're hit!" Wyman shouts over the radio. Smoke fills the cabin. Warning lights flash red. Bellinger fights the controls, the stick heavy as a cinder block. He climbs into the clouds, hoping to lose the MiGs. Wyman circles above, covering him. But the damage is bad. No hydraulics, fuel pouring out. Bellinger knows he won't make it back to base. Mayday, mayday. I'm going down. At 200 knots, he pulls the ejection handle. The canopy blows, a rush of wind, then silence. The South China Sea hits like concrete, freezing water, oil and debris all around. He unclips his chute, gasping for air. Above, Wyman dives low, firing warning bursts to chase off Vietnamese fishing boats closing in. Minutes later, the sound of rotor blades, a Navy rescue helicopter. They drop a sling, hauling Bellinger out of the water. He's alive, but shaken. For the first time in 3 wars, Dick Bellinger had been shot down, and he wasn't about to let that be the way his story ended. October 9th, 1966. The target, the Phu Ly Bridge, south of Hanoi. 24 Navy, 4 Skyhawks roar in formation, and above them, the Guardians, Commander Dick Bellinger and his Crusader pilots. For Bellinger, this mission isn't just another escort. It's personal. 3 months earlier, he'd been shot down over Nam Dinh. Now, he's back, flying into the same skies, ready to even the score. Over Hanoi, radar picks up movement fast. Red Crown, be advised, MiGs airborne. 2 MiG 21 seconds from the 921st Fighter Regiment. Their pilots, Pham Thanh Nan and Nguyen Van Minh. Down below, the Vietnamese pilots line up their attack. None, armed with Soviet 3 seconds heat, seeking missiles. Minh, carrying unguided rockets. They coordinate over radio, calm, disciplined. To them, this isn't chaos. It's defense of their homeland. 2 contacts at 10 o'clock high, Bellinger calls out. He and his wingman, Lieutenant Lee Prost, pull back on the stick, climbing fast through the humid air. The MiGs come head-on, slicing through thin clouds like silver arrows. On the ground, anti-aircraft guns flash. In the sky, a deadly ballet begins. Bellinger locks eyes on one MiG rolling inverted, a split S dive, pure Soviet style. He's going low, I'm on him. Prost stays high, covering the 6. Bellinger rolls the Crusader upside down, pushing his jet into a screaming dive behind the MiG. Altimeter spinning, ground rushing up. Tone, lock. He fires the first sidewinder. It streaks off the rail and misses. The MiG pulls hard right, diving for the deck. The second missile tone screams through his headset. Bellinger breathes once, steady, and squeezes the trigger. Whoosh! The sidewinder tracks true. In a flash of orange and white, Nguyen Van Minh's MiG explodes just 200 feet above the rice fields. Silence. For a second, everything slows down. Even the engine noise fades. Through the smoke, Bellinger banks away, watching the fireball fall into the haze below. Splash 1 bandit. It's the U.S. Navy's first confirmed MiG-21 kill and Bellinger's redemption. In the other cockpit, Lee Prost lets out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Hell of a shot, Skipper. Bellinger doesn't answer. He just looks out at the horizon, the same sky that nearly took his life months earlier. Now quiet, peaceful, for just a moment. For him, this wasn't revenge. It was closure. Proof that after everything, the loss, the fear, the doubt, he could still bring his men home. Crusader flight, form up. let's go home. Dick Bellinger's victory became a legend the day a Navy Crusader proved it could take down the MiG-21. But to the men who flew with him, his real triumph wasn't in that kill. It was in never giving up after falling from the sky. From failure to fight, from catastrophe to victory. 3 wars, 1 pilot, and a victory that meant far more than a MiG kill. It meant going home with honor. Dick Bellinger's story isn't just about courage in the air. It's about resilience, the kind that keeps a man flying when the world keeps trying to bring him down. He fought through failure, fire, and fear, and still found a way to rise. Because in the end, victory isn't just surviving the battle. It's facing the sky again, even after it's tried to take everything from you. Commander Richard Dick Bellinger proved that the true measure of a pilot isn't how many enemies he shoots down, but how many times he dares to take off again. Thanks for watching. And if you'd like to see more untold stories of courage and aviation history, make sure to subscribe and tell us in the comments which mission you'd like us to cover next. This was the story of the F-8 Crusader, the last of the gunfighters.